Hey there, I'm excited to dive into a new planner review, and I need to give you a little backstory on this one. So earlier this year, I did a review of a planner. I called it a Bloom planner because it had the name Bloom on it, and it was a planner I purchased at Staples, and it was called Work-Life Balance Planner. So of course I had to check that one out, right? Well, it turns out that there is actually the bloomplanners.com company, which is not necessarily what every Bloom planner that you find in Staples. So the way to really know for sure is to look for this little flower down here. So I incorrectly tagged the Bloom planner company, and they reached out and said, hey, you know what? That's actually not one of our planners, but we'd love to send you one to review. Talk about amazing customer service. I am blown away with all the women that work at Bloom Planners. So they sent me this 2023 planner. And so this is what we're going to be diving into today. So I just want to give a shout out to the Bloom Planners company. You guys are top notch. All right, so as always, I'm just going to start off with kind of who I believe that these planners are marketed for. You know, what is their shtick if they have one. When you go to the bloomplanners.com website, you will instantly just see, to me, very feminine. They're definitely attracting and zeroing in for women for sure. And the incredible amount of options that you have is awesome. Now, another thing that I noticed right away that I think is amazing is the fact that they are very, very big on giving back. And that's huge. So definitely attracting women, that is who they are marketing for. They do have a wide variety of both sizes of their planners, different binders and colors that you can pick, and different layouts. Now, whenever I see a bunch of different layout options, that usually is a sign to me that there is not a set planning system that's going to be accompanying the planners, and that definitely seems to be true with this. However, I do have one caveat that when we dive into the planner, I'm going to show you some stuff that they have up front that definitely kind of has a feel of more high-level planning system behind it. But they do have hardbound, they have softbound, lots of different design options, and then they also have both dated and undated planners. So a ton of variety to choose from. All right, so next up, let's just take a quick look at what's in here. I'm just gonna walk through all the different sections, and then we'll come back and do a deep dive into each one of them. So at the very beginning, they have an opening page that allows you to create a mission statement and put in your word for the year. This is a 2023 dated planner. They've got great resources available, year at a view. This is kind of all at the beginning of the planner section. Then they have an area to really map out your goals for the year. We'll take a deep dive on that in a minute. Habit tracking, a little section called your joy list. Then a place again to map out different areas of goals, some values. So lots of stuff at the very beginning. A place to map out your ideal weekly schedule. Some budgeting stuff is in here as well, and some blank pages. Then we dive into the meat of the planner, which has at the beginning of each month, a place to put your visions, the monthly spread, again, pretty common for planners, and then this is the weekly layout. And so it just repeats this for every month and every week. So that's kind of the overview of what is included in this planner. All right, so let's take a deep dive and really talk through each of these sections and get a feel for how this will or maybe will not work for you. So at the very beginning, the fact that this very first page has a mission statement and word for your year, I absolutely love that. And that really ties into a lot of the work that I do when I run my annual planning workshops. We talk a lot about identifying and coming up with what our core values are going to be for the year. And then I walk people through an exercise to help you come up with your word of the year. So I love that the planner starts out with that. Again, there's just some great resources here, which is really nice to have. They have an amazing online community that is incredibly inspiring as well. Next up is just a one-page glance at your year with a place to write little things down. I really like this, particularly because it's got the dates and it gives a space for you to kind of do your what I call my annual one-pager. So I have two flavors of the annual one-pager, and I think that this would be a nice way to capture that. And then next up is kind of another version of an annual one-pager here. So this gives you a space to write down your top 5 goals for the year, things to look forward to, new things I would like to try, books I would like to read, places to visit, things to improve upon, things to be grateful for. I love that it's providing this space to be able to write all of this down. I think I might be a little bit overwhelmed if I felt like I had to read a certain amount of books or visit a certain number of places. I would love to see space to maybe create your own category of things that you might want to track. And along with this top 5 goals for the year, hopefully we'll see later in the planner that there's a place to really put thoughtfulness around how do I break that down and actually get that into my daily activities. Great page here to brainstorm, to kind of create a vision board, if you will, for the year. Then we come into a habit tracking section. I had a little bit of a difficult time trying to understand what this graph is. And I mean, they've got some instructions, list out 12 healthy habits you would like to cultivate this year. And then we recommend focusing on one a month. I would probably find this a little overwhelming on how to jump in and use that, and then to have to think of, oh my gosh, 12 healthy habits. I don't want to come up with 12 for the year. And then this next page is probably one of my favorites. So it is my joy list. It gives you a place to write down what brings you peace and happiness, what you love most about yourself, and then how you feel best. And anyone using this planner should 100% fill this out. And then it says at the top, refer back to this page when you need a boost. I love this, and I think everybody should have this somewhere in their life for sure. Next up, we have where you are and where you're going. So they break down 7 different categories of your life: personal growth, relationships, health and fitness, family and home, work and school, finances, fun and adventure. And you're supposed to rate yourself and then kind of take some notes on there, and then a space for a to-don't list. Again, I love the intent behind all of this, but I think it would feel very overwhelming without understanding how to then bring this into the rest of the year a little bit. And then we have a page for values. Again, great stuff here. Now we move into a section that is giving you a place to map out what your ideal week would look like with some routines, and then a weekly scheduling template. I could see this being incredibly useful for someone that has a more predictable schedule or life. But if you are somebody that every day is very fluid, schedules are constantly changing, this would, I might want to put a caveat on here to say, hey, this may not be for everybody, but I think it's great for folks that have a more predictable lifestyle. Then there's a couple sections here for budgeting and tracking. I've seen this in a few other planners. I'm just not convinced that people in this day and age are really tracking expenses on paper like this. I know I would not be needing this. I'm not sure I've met anyone that would, but if you do, hey, it's there and that's great. And then we just come into some space for some blank paper. So this is everything that you get at the start of the planner. And what I like about this is it is hopefully encouraging people to really take a step back and think about, what do you want out of this year? What's important to you? What are areas that you want to work on? And then, the part that is, I'm not going to say missing because it would be hard to put into a planner, but it would be great to have associated trainings, videos, etc., to help people understand how to take the information from there and then actually feed it into their plans for the year. But I think it's been a lot of great thought went into the sections that are here at the start of the planner. All right, so now let's dive into the meat of this, right? The calendaring part, the actual creating of your plans. So at the start of every month, there is a page that is your monthly visions. So you're supposed to write out your monthly goals or visions in each category. And then it says, then break them down into tangible, actionable steps you can schedule one a week. So at least they are bringing that in. Love that. But having a goal every month around personal growth, relationships, health and fitness, family and home, work schedule, finances, and fun and adventure, and possibly 2 more, feels incredibly overwhelming to me. I would maybe change this up to say, hey, let's pick one thing, but to feel like, oh my gosh, I now have to work on 7, possibly 9 goals simultaneously in the course of a month, that would be a little challenging. So when we go to the monthly spread, again, these are pretty standard in just about any planner you're going to get. Plenty of space to write on. I always want to see a place for people to just capture notes about the month as well. And just a nice little kind of quote or piece of advice at the top of the monthly thing. So very standard. I actually do like the highlighting of the weekend days to let you see which is weekend versus weekday. Then we get into the weekly spread. So here we are. I'm going to just fold it over so we can really just dive into one side of it. Now, one of the things I do love is that they have Saturday and Sunday separate. So you can, get a full instead of, marrying them together in one column. And so when we look in here at this page, you'll notice the one thing that is missing that I feel belongs in a really good weekly planner is there isn't the times of the day. So this to me feels more like a place to come in and just write down more of task lists or appointments. It's more of just a space to capture notes. So whenever we see a planner in a format like this where we don't have the times, my one hesitation with that is always it's going to be difficult to see, are you overbooked? Are you overscheduled? If you're writing down stuff here, it's going to be hard to visualize how much of your day is that actually going to fill. We can't really budget our time quite as well when we don't have the times there. Now, is this still better than daily planning? Absolutely. So at least here we are encouraging that plan for the entire week. They've got a space down here for healthy habits and automatically plugging in a place to track how much water that you want to drink. And then they do have the space for 3 top priorities for the week. Again, I think that helps with weekly planning, and I prefer that over seeing top priorities for each day. As if you've been following me for a while, you know how I feel about that. So that is what's kind of at the start of, or how each of the weekly layouts goes. And then this is just kind of rinse and repeat. And we start over with our visions for the next month and then all of the weekly layouts for that month. All right, now we jump to the back of the planner because there are a couple extra pages back here. There's a space here to come in and write down your monthly highlights. If you did not go through this planner at the very beginning, you would miss this opportunity. And I love this because it's something I always coach as well as at the end of every month, like actually write down, I call it my success tracker, so that at the end of the year, you can always go back and say, God, look at everything I actually did accomplish. And then they have a space for you to do future planning so that you could be starting to make notes of important dates for the following year. So you have at least have a nice place to capture that ahead of time before you go purchase your planner for the next year. And then it ends with a year of growth. So they have this page at the beginning. Now they have it at the end where you can come back and rate yourself to see where you felt like you grew over the year. All right, so let's go ahead and recap and get my thoughts on, is this would I give a thumbs up for this planner or not? I think there is a ton of incredible value in this planner. A lot of thought went into doing it. I would say some of the highlights are all the work up front where they're really encouraging you to think about your year. I love that at the end, they want you to go back and assess and go through and track those monthly highlights. The monthly spread and the space to be thinking about what goals you want to hit for each month is also really, really good. Now, the weakness, there's really just one glaring weakness for me with the planner because it doesn't match with how I coach weekly planning. And it is just simply that we're missing those times. So it feels more of a place to capture task list type planning for the week. And so I could see someone still falling into that pitfall of potentially getting overbooked and overscheduled because we're missing that visualization of understanding how much time are the things each day actually going to take. So that is kind of my one negative part for this. So if you are using the top framework, if you're inside and using the planning systems that I teach, this would probably not be the best planner for you. However, if you are in a stage of life where you may not need that level of budgeting your time, this could be a great planner for you.